Hey guys, welcome back. So in this video, what we want to go over is how to have objects follow you and then meet different conditions. So in this video, what I'm going to show is I want my player to be followed by these four bugs. Okay. Now each one of these four bugs has a collider on it, and my player has a collider. So once we go and touch each other, they're going to follow me wherever I go. So the first condition that I have is just for following. Okay. Now if I walk into these, they're going to start following me. So if I go in here, you see they're going to start following. Now the second condition I have is once I step outside of those colliders, you see they're just going to stop. If I come inside one of them, he's going to follow me until I walk outside. Okay, now that's the first and second conditions. The third condition is if I walk in here and I have them continuously follow me, they're going to follow me and follow me and follow me, and then eventually they're going to turn off their colliders and they're going to go home. They are done following me for the day. They don't want to be led into town or whatever, because that's a typical thing that happens in some games is that they don't put range checks on things, and the NPCs tend to migrate once you end up having players that figure out, oh wait, there's no range set to this. So what we do is we set these ranges to make sure that things stay in their general area. So these could be here doing anything that they're supposed to be doing, and you can't drag them away. So you can't get them stuck somewhere else or whatever. So it's an easy way to reset your logic. So let's dig into this and how it works. It's very, very simple logic. It does get a little confusing down here when we're actually moving the player, but we'll kind of dig into it and see how it goes. Okay, so the first thing I'm doing here is I'm creating an empty game object. I want a holder for my spawn point for where this little bug lives. This is going to be the default. It never changes. You know, this is where it belongs. And I do this just for simplicity for this demo. You could use the initial spawn point from anything you can think of through instantiate or whatever you want to get your initial start position. So all we're doing here, we're creating an empty game object, setting it with the position that it's currently in, and then giving it a name, which is here. So I'm just giving it the position and the spawn point. And from there, I'm setting a parent to give it bug spawn, just to keep them organized. Okay. And then from there, I'm setting the start position. So the start position is just that game object I created. Okay. Because we're going to use that as our point of reference to get the position. Because we'll be doing a little bit of setting position for the player itself. So you can't use self for the self position. You're going to have a way to manage where is that home position for that bug. Okay, and now up next we have the is it close, yes or no. Is this going to be close to my player to where I need to be able to run to him or not, yes or no. And this is just me setting the variable because I didn't want to set one in here. This is just on enable, so this is on start. We're going to create our variable and then go from there. So that's what we do here. We're just creating this initial spawn point, and it's pretty straightforward on that one. Okay, so now the trigger movement, what we're going to do is we're going to use an on trigger stay because we have our player and he's got a collider on him, and each bug has a collider on him, a big circle. And once we get inside that collider, we want to run continuously until those conditions are met. So if we go down in here and we run this, we see that we're gonna run, our on trigger is going to continuously run and do whatever it does until it gets to the point where one of those conditions is met. I either run away, I get too far, or I kill it. We don't have any killing in here yet, but that's something that can come later. So let's go ahead and reset those. Now, this on trigger stay, you could use an on trigger enter, but as soon as you start going back and forth and running, things will kind of get wonky and break. So you have to come up with a logic that's going to work with your game to where you can do multiple conditions to make sure that it flows while you're meeting those conditions. So the on-trigger enter might work for 1 or 2 conditions, but not for all of them. So from there, what we're doing is we're going to use this. We're going to use this collider, which is the player, because that's the tag I'm looking for. That's the only one I'm looking for. We're going to use that as the move to position. So the move to position is the position where we're going to move to with the bug. So it doesn't matter where this is where we're going in the flow itself. So we may have it over here, we have it down here, we have this move position everywhere. And this is just where the bug is going at any given time. So this is how we control that behavior. And then after that, we're going to say, are you close, yes or no? And then again, this controls another set of behavior, and we'll show that right now. So let's go do that. So down here, we have the update, and this close, all right? We're currently at false because we are not in bounds of one of these colliders. Now, if we come in and we touch one of the colliders, true, we're close. And let's get away from that collider, and then we're back to false again, right? So are we close, yes or no? So currently, it's false. So it's coming down here to this one, and it's checking, are you at home, yes or no? So are you at your home position, and are you touching something that's going to make you want to chase it? So currently, we have it just cycling here to true, and then setting enable on the collider. Because later on, I'll show you how you turn off the collider to make them return back home without any interference. Because if you left them on the entire time, you're going to touch that collider, and it's just going to sit there. It's not going to do anything because you're constantly cycling back and forth between I found something and I'm going home. So you don't actually ever return home unless you kill that collider. Okay. So let's say we come in, we touch that collider up here, and now we have that running, okay? So it's true that I have my, my value. It's true that my close is running. So we're gonna come back in here, we're gonna hit this again. I got too far away. And then what's gonna happen is we're gonna come over here and say, okay, does that condition meet this if statement? And what this if statement is, this is a distance check to make sure that you are going to be close enough to where you don't turn around, because we want that monster to return home if the player tries kiting them off into nowhere, because we don't want kiting. We just want them to maintain their general little area. So that distance check comes in down here. We're getting the self, which is the bug's position, that start position of the bug itself, and then we're getting the position of that start position. We're going to measure the distance. So if you're 10 units away or more, then I want you to stop. I want you to go back home. Because right now, you're not 10 units away. You're only 7.3 or 8 or something like that. So you're just going to continuously run and chase me. So I can go back and forth, and you're going to run and chase me. Okay, now when I get to that 10, you're going to say, okay, well, I've hit 10. We're going to come up here, we're going to turn off my collider, okay? And then we're going to return home, because that move position is then set to the start position. And because we don't have another colliding happening while that collider's off, it can't reset this move position to that position again until it gets home. Because when it gets home is when we reset that collider. Okay, so the rest of it is pretty straightforward in the sense that we have this little guy, and he goes into the collider and then out of the collider. Okay, and that's really all there is to that part, is he's just going in and out of the collider. And then the logic says, okay, if you're coming in, I want you to move towards him. Now, if you exit that collider, I want you to stop. I want to change that. Are you chasing, yes or no? And if we go back to no here, we're going to say, okay, well, we're not close to you anymore. We're going to set that position back to the start position, but we're not turning off that collider because we want to make sure that that collider can come back on if you got out of range. Because that's not necessarily giving up. That's just saying, okay, well, you got a little bit too far. I don't want to completely stop chasing you, but I want you to be able to pick back up if I need to and attack you again. Okay, if that makes sense. So in this case, well, okay, we can run away. Now I can come back and they can come and attack me again and again and again until they finally catch up to me. Okay, and then they'll return back to their home position once I'm fully outside of that range or they hit that max distance. So the logic on this one is pretty confusing because you have those three conditions, and it takes a little bit of understanding to understand that you're basically just taking a trigger of standing there. We're going to do something while you're standing in it, and then it's something when you leave it, and then also something whenever they hit a certain threshold while you're doing those two things. So hopefully that makes some sense. It's one of those things that this one I actually might rebuild manually and do a step-by-step to better explain it. It's one of those things where you get kind of just convoluted and weavy and wobbly throughout the whole flow. But absolutely, this is a really, really good way to do your follows. It's pretty robust. It doesn't really like to break very often. So, all right, so that's about it. Let me know what you think. And yeah, that's about it.